just incredible.
Two.
DJ Sour Milk.
One. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Yeah, it's Power 106, the
Yes,
LA Leakers,
sir.
man. Just incredible.
Sour milk.
And a very good friend of ours, who is, I can't say enough good things about this man. He's one of the most influential, people, not just from the city, but around that I've ever met. And, a really good friend of ours who I've had a chance to really get to know a lot more over the last few months. And it's really dope to have you on the show, man. Tracy Mills is here with us, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Of course, man. Thank you for coming up to our show. I feel
blessing.
like there's so much to talk about with you,
Please,
man.
let's do it.
And you have so much going on that I want to get to as well.
Yeah, okay.
But let's just start a little bit about the history, because I know what this city means to you.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
And I'll let you speak on that and why it is so important to you to represent for this city.
I'm from LA, so, this is the city that raised me in so many ways, through stumbles, through triumphs. It's like every bit of the journey I've taken, LA has given me, I've embraced it. Maybe not in the moment, but, when you come up out of those situations, you realize, like, I'm glad I went through them. So LA for me is it's everything. I don't say LA is like the greatest city, because I don't like to divide myself from other people. Like, my city's better than yours. Yeah. But, I do love LA. I don't want to live anywhere else but LA.
But LA, right.
LA. Everything.
So, Tracy's got an amazing line out that he's not necessarily here to talk about, but I want to just big him up on this Visitor on Earth line that you have. I believe it's season 2 right now?
Yes.
Immediately I gravitated towards your line because I follow you on Instagram.
Okay.
And we have mutual friends.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get into a Kanye pop-up shop off of Fairfax about 2 years ago, and out came Tracey, and I was like, that's a man I need to know.
Yeah.
But with that, it's always dope for me, and I know Milk feels the same way, to support brands with people who we believe in.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that defines you to me specifically, man. So The Visitor on Earth, why that name for the line, and how did it get started?
Okay. Visitor on Earth. It got started just for me not always, but at some point, like when I went to Paris with Ye, my palette grew because, Kanye surrounds himself with the best of the best because he wants all the information. He's like, I say it all the time, he's an immaculate student, and he knows nothing, because a genius really knows he knows nothing in order to become a genius. Because if you think you know it, you're not going to learn. You're going to be stagnant. So he thinks with the mindset of a smart person knows he knows nothing. So with that being said, he surrounded us in Paris with so many, people with so much information, and in a world that we're just new to, that they've been around since birth.
Man, you was just soaking that knowledge.
So it was
up,
so much information I was getting there that it helped me grow my palette to design. It made me say, being out there, like, oh, I can do this. So after, about 5 or 6 years of that, I wanted to do my own brand, and when I came up with the name, it had to stand for something. I believe any true structure has to have the right foundation under it. Otherwise it crumbles. Yeah. So for me, Visitor on Earth is what I truly believe every soul on this planet is, because you're going to shed this shell we live in, which is our flesh. So you're a visitor on this planet. Yeah. So for me, and I'm very much a sci-fi person. I really believe in the unknown and the unseen. So it just made sense to me, when I came up with the name.
And when did, you start getting into the fashion world? Like, what was it for you that kicked it off for you when you were younger, or whenever it was?
Yeah, that was, I've always been into fashion. When you grow up in the inner city and you're poor, swag is what helps you get by.
How
you put it together helps you with your confidence, because you lack money. Right. And if you're trying to talk to a girl and maybe your haircut ain't as fresh because you can't keep up with the fresh cuts, you got to try to put something together to help you. So I've always been that dude, but I grew up playing ball, and then when I didn't make it in basketball like my brother did, shout out to my brother Chris Mills.
Yes, sir.
I had someone who I call my uncle. His name is Breon Prescott. So he's in the music business. He manages Jamie Foxx. He started out with excuse me, y'all. What is her name? Forgive me.
That's
I'll
okay.
come back
That's
to that.
okay.
I'll come back to that. I'll
Circle
come back to that. So anyway, he back then there was a brand called Von Dutch that nobody knew about in the inner city, and he was the first one that I knew to get onto it. So I saw him one day. He had on these raw denim with a Von Dutch patch on the back of the denim, and I was like, "Yo, those are dope." He's like, "Yeah, it's his brand Von Dutch. Don't tell nobody, but yo, it's up the street. Go up there, you'll love it." And I went up there and I fell in love with it. And I was really in love with this brand.
Wow.
So I would take all my friends who happen to be who they are to that store. I was like, you know, at the time I was really cool with Hilary Duff and Lindsay Lohan. Those were like my homegirls, and I was kicking it with Puff, and you know, I knew Jay-Z, and I knew Beyonce and Destiny Child. I knew Destiny Child at the time. So I had a lot of influential friends.
Yeah.
And I would bring them to the store. And the designer at the time was new to America, and he was like, "Who is this kid that knows all these celebrities?
Right.
Bring him to me next time he comes in." And he offered me a job, and that was the intro to my career.
Wow.
Yeah, and he like saved my life. His name is Christian Audigier because he ended up starting Ed Hardy.
Yeah.
And I always called him my guardian angel because at those times I didn't really know what I was going to do with myself.
That's crazy.
That's an amazing story.
And like, what was your first meeting with him like?
It was quick. It was just like, yo, the designer wants to meet you, so go upstairs. And I was like, word. So I go upstairs. He's like, Viv. He's like, man, how do you know all these people? Look, put this on them, and you help me make this brand hot. And I did it. And that was how he talked. He was fast and he was quick, and he was like, look, I'm gonna offer you a job, so I'm gonna pay you. Let's go. And I was just like, yes, I'm broke.
Let's go.
Let's
And
do it.
did you have a job at the time, or were you
I worked for BT for a year, and I worked at BT, and I helped with like bringing people on to certain programs that they had. So it was utilizing my relationships as well.
Yeah.
So, but that was quick lived. Yeah,
That's
because the
crazy.
person I worked with, she ended up losing her job, and so did I.
Ooh.
Yeah, but it was cool. Like, you know, I got to go to New York for the first time because of BET.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, they did this thing at Apollo, and I was in charge of like Beanie Man and Jay-Z at the time. So it was like
Man.
cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
that's kind of like how I got to know Jay.
I mean,
Yeah.
from doing that to actually getting into design and stuff now, when does that transition start?
That's actually started with Ye.
Okay.
So he gave me the opportunity to have a voice.
Yeah.
You know, he saw something in me, and he gave me a voice. At Ed Hardy, I had ideas, and I could give ideas, but he had such a machine already. It was like I couldn't be the wrench that slowed down the machine.
Yeah.
Right.
But Ye gave me the opportunity. You know, he was like, yo, I want to do this high-end, ready-to-wear women's brand called Kanye West, and we're going to go to Paris. Anna Wintour is going to help us get in Paris Fashion Week, and blah, blah, blah. So it was a no-brainer for me. So I left Ed Hardy to do that.
Oh, okay.
And he gave me a voice. It was me and him. You know, we was really niggas embarrassed. Straight up. It was just me and him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. You speak about your relationships, and you know you have some of the best, man. And I think there's a lot of people who listen to our show who don't understand that it's not like an overnight thing.
Not even close.
And
it has to be organic.
Yes.
My relationships came about because I had a brother who played in the NBA. So he knew a lot of,
Right.
I mean, he pretty much knew everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and he grew up the man in LA. He was number one player in the nation coming out of high school.
Man.
He was, you know, he was in college. He was All-American in college, first round draft pick in the NBA, went to Cleveland. And I got to meet a lot of celebrities through him. And I think they gravitated to me because I was just always me. You know, I was never starstruck in a sense. Like I would be, but it would be internalized. I would never show the fan.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And I think they just saw something in me. Like, I don't know what it is, but I just feel like, you know, it's a blessing that God put these spirits in my life, you know? And I never abused those relationships. Ever.
Yeah.
I never called on them for anything. If they needed me, I'd be there. I never reached out to say, y'all need a helping hand with anything. Even in my darkest times, I never did that, you know, because I always felt like, these relationships are priceless, and when it's meant to be, those relationships will flourish in the way it's supposed to.
Right.
That's real
Well
talk.
said. Well
Yeah.
said.
That's real
And you also strike me as a man who doesn't burn any bridges.
Not even close. Nah, because somebody taught me a long time ago. It's like never burn a bridge because you never know when you got to cross back over that bridge. And it's funny. Like throughout my journey, I've seen so many people that were at the bottom and they're now running stuff. You know what I mean?
It's
and
crazy
it's like
when you actually see
and
that.
I've seen it a lot though.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Cats that was interns,
Yeah.
cats that was just getting coffee. Now they just
Really?
CFO, or they, you know what I mean, or they're the president. Or I've seen that many
Creative.
times. Yeah.
Wow.
Straight up.
And what's that like growing up with a brother who's the number one player in the country? Is
Right.
there there has to be is there jealousy? Is it? I mean,
For me, it wasn't jealousy. I was proud of my brother.
Yeah.
It gave me a sense of pride because that's my brother.
Yeah.
But it also gives you pressure because people expect you to be on that level.
yeah, like you got to be great.
Especially
Yeah.
because you were playing ball too. Like,
Well, I'm gonna be 100. So
he's like, I could beat him.
my mother and father separated when I was 1. So at the age of 1, I moved to Chicago. That's where my mother's from, and my father's from Arkansas. But my father stayed in L.A. So I was in Chicago from 1 to 10, and I came back to L.A. So me coming back to L.A., I assumed I was from Chicago. So I had a certain mentality
Right.
coming into L.A.,
Okay.
right, which got my ass whooped. I can curse on here, right?
Yeah,
Which got my ass whooped right out the gate because I got introduced to the gang world out the gate.
Okay.
And I was talking shit to one of my brother's homeboys who's a notorious cat in the streets, and he
Okay.
beat my ass. And my brother let it happen, though.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Teach
when
you
it
a
was,
little
yeah,
lesson.
exactly. He was like, yo, you can't talk like that out here. You'll get killed. So, but it was a lesson I needed
You
out
need
the
to
gate.
right.
You know what I mean?
Fast.
But I always had this mentality that I was the shit in basketball. So to have that, my brother like that, I never looked at it like I had to be like him, and I never accepted that pressure.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be the shit regardless.
Right.
Yeah,
Like I wanted to
whether
be.
it's basketball or
No,
fashion
it
or
was
whatever.
basketball.
Oh,
It was
okay.
never fashion back. It was always
okay,
hoop.
okay,
Like
okay.
I grew up on Jordan.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was like, that was magic to me. That was like watching the greatest magician. So I always wanted to be that. So for me, my brother didn't play nothing like that. So he was dope, but he didn't captivate me like this
Mike.
dude did.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I was
yeah.
always at the park trying to be like Mike.
Right.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Even though I knew my brother was the shit,
Yeah.
I still was trying to be like Mike.
Right. I mean, we
Yeah.
all wanted to be like Mike.
So if that makes any sense, is like it didn't put the pressure on me because I didn't feel like my brother's 6'6". I'm 6'1", so it wasn't even a thought to play like. Even though Jordan's 6'6", I didn't look. I just looked at the magic.
Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to think to try to play like my brother. So that it took away from the pressure. If
Yeah.
my brother was a point guard, then
was-
it
right.
would have added pressure.
Right.
In high school, my brother was playing in the post.
Okay. And yeah, I was gonna say he's only 6. I always felt like he was like a
Taller.
power forward or something.
Yeah.
Well, in high school, he played center.
Okay.
And then when he got to college, they actually, he when he came out of high school, him and Sean Kemp, that was his best friend in high school. They both went to University of Kentucky out the gate. He played point guard
Okay.
at Kentucky as a freshman, but never played point guard in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So and when do you kind of realize the basketball thing ain't gonna work out and you're like,
When my attitude wouldn't shut down. I had a terrible attitude
okay.
because I was very abused as a child. So with that abuse, you're full of rage. And the abuser, you're afraid of, you're petrified of. So you can't release it. So you release it elsewhere. And the only place I released it was like the hoop court.
Yeah.
Because on the hoop court, that's where the most shit was talked. So, if you're not mentally equipped to just come back with something not on a savage level, if you don't come with that level of like, oh, you shit talking, I can shit talk too, you're gonna kill yourself
Don't go too
mentally.
far.
And I went too far every time because I had to release.
Right.
But in the moments, I don't know. That's why I'm like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you know that?
I
in
didn't
the
know
moment?
that.
Right.
No, I had no idea.
Anybody pulling you to the side and
A lot of times they're like, "Yo, you too gifted. Like, what are you doing?" But my attitude it was a real talk. It was a real fire inside of me. Like it was rage level.
And I mean, and what is it that kind of changes you? And is it like, do you have to go see a therapist or I mean,
Well, there's no therapy in the ghetto.
so is it just you kind of?
Well, it depends on your structure. So for me, my infrastructure, there was no one there because my brother, because who he was and how popping he was never home.
Yeah.
And then my father, I love my father to death, but at the time he was the abuser. So there was no one to turn to. And my family was so divided, so there was no one to run to.
So I mean, is it hard to to love somebody like that, man? Like
in the moment, I hated him.
Yeah.
I despised him. He was the devil to me, and I hated God.
And so when does that change? How do you fix that?
There's no blueprint. My change came out of nowhere. It wasn't expected. It was me at the age of 7. So from the age of 10 to 17 was the abuse time. At the age of 17, I was going to kill my father. So I was standing like in the corner in the kitchen while he was sleeping on the couch. I had a knife, and I was going to stab him to death. It was nothing stopping. It was a wrap for him, and something came over me. Like I can't even explain it. It was just like boom. And when I tell you I was petrified of this man, I tell the story, I was petrified of this man.
Yeah.
My father's buff and shape, and he was born in 1939 in Little Rock, Arkansas. So he's seen death around the corner every day. He's been through it.
Right. Yeah.
So, his type of ass whoopings were actually slavery type ass whoopings because that's what he knew. His grandmother was a slave. His mother was born in the early 1900s. Wow. So, you know what I mean? So, anyway, that in that moment when I was going to kill him, something came over me, and all the fear I ever had for him went out the door, like instantly. And to me, as I look back, I think that was the spirit of God coming to me, like, I'm gonna save you. You're gonna do something special for me. That's just how I look at it looking back.
Yeah.
But that day he woke up and said something to me, and I barked back at him like I've never barked at him. And I barked at him on a level like I'll fuck you up. And he knew it, and that was the beginning of my reprogramming.
Damn, that's crazy.
That's amazing, man. I mean, you went through some serious stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if I told you the type of things I don't want to, portray my father. It's tough for me to constantly mention that it's him because I love my father, but it's the truth,
Yeah.
But the things that he put me through, like I would never want to see a kid go through.
And I mean, does he realize that now? Like,
I've never had that conversation with him.
No,
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that every person checks themselves at some point. So and I always said to myself, the reason why I never did is because there's nothing I can say to him worse than what he's probably already said to himself.
Yeah, living with that.
You know what I mean? So
living with that and looking in the mirror.
Yeah, and then seeing his son become something, it's like, damn, I used to destroy that dude.
Yeah.
Now look at him. But, it's cool. That was the path that I was supposed to go on because it made me the man I am today.
Of course.
And I'm appreciative. I wouldn't change nothing.
Man.
Thank God your life didn't go in a route of
It could have
hurting someone, him, yourself, anyone.
Well, it was many times I tried to commit suicide. It was many times I pulled a gun on someone because I was angry on the basketball court, robbed somebody before. I was an angry dude. I mean, it was...
You had that fire inside of you.
What I'm telling you was like so powerful. It was a rage that just like my whole body would heat up. And I had no control over it was like blackouts.
Wow.
So, yeah.
But it's very important for us to even have this conversation with you because as much as, we've all had our challenges in different times, and I can't personally, say I've ever experienced the things you're speaking about, but people who are listening and watching us right now have. And I think it's so amazing that you can speak on it, in an intellectual way. And also people can see you were able to change. You were able to get out of that lifestyle and, in your words, reprogram yourself.
And that's the purpose of this.
And to get to a to speak on it positively, you just said you love your father.
I do.
I mean, I think that is amazing in itself.
Yeah.
I have trouble. A girl, does me wrong, and I don't ever want to talk to her again.
Yeah.
And you just said what you just said.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, transitioning into the reprogramming that you speak so highly of.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that right there. How do you find love in all of that darkness?
It wasn't easy. Again, it wasn't.
Nothing is, but
right. It wasn't. The reprogramming wasn't something that I thought of in those moments. That's what came about as I evolved.
Yeah.
But in those moments, when I told you I took my power back in a sense where I lost all the fear, I wanted something for myself. I didn't know what that was, but I just wanted to be something. And for me to be something, I had to get out my own way.
Yeah.
So, and I was underdeveloped in a lot of ways. So in your prime times, it's like your high school time is when a young man becomes somewhat a man. You get your like swag, you start to get your confidence, you learn to speak to women and approach women, just so many things. And I didn't get those enjoyments. So at the age of 17, I say, to me, when I think back, it's like 17 to 25 is when I was doing the most reprogramming. That was like crucial in my life, because within that time frame, I could have easily been dead or in jail. So with that, I looked back, and I recently, when I say recent, I mean like within a year, I just realized I was always reprogramming myself and didn't know it. Meaning when I got to the point, because God knows, but I didn't know, but the things that I gravitated to because of the abuse were programming me to be who I am right now. So when you grow up in a broken home and you're abused and you don't love yourself, you don't love the person you see in the mirror, at least for me, I gravitated to things that I wish I had. So I would gravitate to like the Cosby Show, because I wanted a family structure.
Yeah.
But then me gravitating to the Cosby Show, and in those moments, am I not realizing that the Cosby Show is feeding me so many jewels? And so I'm programming myself, because what you listen to and what you watch programs you. So all the jewels that were being told within that show, I was storing. Then I would watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, store things. I would watch Teen Summit. The artists I would listen to, I listened to Michael, I listened to Prince, I would listen to Stevie Wonder, I would listen to Anita Baker, because I wanted love in my life, and all they sang was love. So I was programming love into myself. Didn't know this though in the moment.
Yeah.
And then, when hip hop came into my life, I only gravitated to MCs that made me see myself in a better light. So KRS-One, Public Enemy, Gangstar, then Pac, then Nas, so these are my teachers. You know what I mean? But in the moments I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then when I got to the point where I really started to understand, it was easier for me to really look in the mirror and break myself down and say, man, I need to be better. And in those moments is when I had to, like, I was a late bloomer on women. You know what I mean? Like, I really didn't know how to talk to girls because I didn't like myself. I didn't think I was attractive. My brother was tall, light-skinned, hazel eyes, and successful. So I thought, like, damn, dark-skinned, I ain't going to. But these are the things I thought. You feel me? But in that reprogramming, I really started to love myself. And then in order for me to evolve with the love I'm programming myself, I had to let go of the hate I had for my father, because that was the biggest weight on my shoulder. But these things were self-taught. I don't know how, but I taught myself. I didn't have teachers around me. I didn't have people like pulling. I didn't have OGs pulling me to the side.
And is that why you feel it's so important to be such a positive influence for the youth, and because a lot of people don't have that. Like you said, you didn't really have that growing up. So I mean, is that a big part of who you are and what you stand for?
Yeah, it's well. Excuse me. Yeah, with the information that I'm constantly feeding myself, I realize I have a purpose and a duty. And I always say, when you have any type of platform, I don't care if I have one follower on Instagram, I have a duty to do right by that person. And for me, if you really care about people and you care about, the planet you live on, you want to see it be better than what you came up in. So I prefer to sharpen a kid at 17 to be way far advanced than I was at 17, because I'm going to have to live in that kid's world one day,
Right.
So I really want people to be better than me. And, anybody that knows me know I love Pac, and my favorite Pac quote is, I'm not saying I will change the world, but I guarantee you I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that resonated with me more than anything, because I want to be that spark. I want to be that socket that the youth plugs into and can amplify themselves. So for me, it's very important. Otherwise, why I'm on this planet? Man, I'm gonna say something I've never said in any interview, anything, is that, as hard as I am on the shell, I'm way softer on the inside, because I care so much that I'm very sensitive. I'm hypersensitive towards like bullying, classism, anything like that, where people think because money or status that you're better. I'm so sensitive towards that. And it was one time when I was at home and I can't remember what I was watching, but I just started crying. And to me, a real man cries. You feel me? And I was crying, saying, "Damn, if I die right now, I've done nothing with my life." But and to some people, they're like, "Man, you did Von Dutch, Ed Hart, you made all these," but that's not doing anything to me. To me, it's like the people that I look up to, Maya Angelou, Mandela, Martin Luther King, Pac, all these people I look up to. They touch lives across the planet.
Right.
If I'm not doing that, then I've done nothing with my life. And that's the frequency I'm on to the day I perish. Like, if I'm not inspiring, I don't want to preach to nobody. I don't want to, act like I'm holier than thou. I'm no better than any spirit walking this planet. But what I do want to do is inspire every soul I come in contact with.
Absolutely.
That's very important for me.
Yeah.
That's
what
dope.
I mean?
Yeah, and I notice even off the air, I feel like it's like constant gems coming out of your mouth.
Yeah,
like
no doubt.
Super, you know what I'm saying? Like constant gems,
Thanks,
man.
brother. I
like
appreciate that. Thank you, brother.
For sure.
Yeah.
No doubt. Well, what do you think the misconception is with a lot of the younger generation who you're meeting right now? Like, and you speak about programming. Do you feel like they're paying attention? Do you
Man, it's funny, man. I talk to so many young souls and they get it. I think
I talk to younger people more that seem to get it sometimes than
Yeah,
some of
the
your
older
OGs.
people, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
then listen, this is why I only want to talk to the youth, because the youth is way more open-minded and the youth want it. Older heads are set in their ways.
I understand that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the programming is a lot longer.
Yeah.
But, not that I don't want to talk to them, but for me, it's the youth, man. And when I talk to the kids, man, I love talking to the youth, because if I was to do a percentage, 90% of them say to me, "Man, I was just thinking that, man, and I'm so glad you said that."
Yeah.
Because I was wondering, like, am I thinking the wrong thing? And these kids want the information; they really want it. It to me, it's like I'm at this thing where there's a lot of young cats who have platforms that are abusing the platform. I'll never say names, because who am I to say that? But I do see a lot of young kids being bamboozled.
Are you referring to people who have success and an opportunity to speak their voice, but are maybe doing nothing with it in the sense of celebrity?
100,000%.
Got it.
Yes. 100%.
For sure. I mean, we see it all the time.
Yeah, and I come from an era of, like I said, the MCs I come from is like in the 90s, you had to have substance.
Absolutely.
I don't care who you were. Like, I don't care if Wu-Tang was 5%ers. They were spitting jewels.
Right.
Even though they were grimy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? DMX, grimy, spitting jewels. You know what I mean? Like, you had to have bars. You had to have, and the women. For me, it's another thing, too. It's like with the youth, is like, they don't understand how much they're misleading our women. Our young queens, you know what I mean? Because if you're talking about money all the time and hold this and I've smashed this many, and then you only liking girls that show their ass, and that's what the young girls are going to morph to, because they think that's what they got to be like to get a man.
Right.
And I don't come from that era. I come from an era of, Queen Latifah, who you calling the bitch?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Lauryn Hill. I come from Erykah Badu. That's 90s. You had to respect women. Sure. And then also R&B in the 90s, every man was courting a woman. Like, saying on bending knee and forgive me, baby, I love you, like respect for a woman. You know what I mean?
That's real. Even the R&B dudes now are
ratchet. Everybody's ratchet. Everybody's, turned up and, again, I'm not trying to knock anybody. I just think people need to, and I don't just blame them. I also blame their circle. It's like, I always tell you, be mindful of how you feed yourself. What books you read, what shows you watching, who do you allow around you, what kind of conversation, because all that programs you, you know what I mean? And then you become a product of that environment. We create communities around us, and that community raises us. Yeah. So be conscious of that. So for me, I just want to say that to the youth, because I think kids are so much smarter than we were, because they have more access.
For sure.
But I think they're abusing it. Like it's almost like Hitler. Like Hitler was a genius, but he used it for the wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I see a lot of kids, they're so smart, and they see a loophole and they see an easy way to get the money, and with that they fall for the trick, because the trick is for you to see the loophole, and the trick is for you to figure out how to dumb it down and do it the easiest way. That's the trick, though.
Yeah.
That's the bait.
Yep.
And if you fall for it, it really shows what type of person you are.
So many cats are falling for it.
Of course, yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
For me, it's a problem because you know better. And when I talk to a lot of them, they know better. But there's nobody giving them bars consistently and telling them that you're put on this planet to succeed. To me, it's the information that's being fed. We're so programmed to talk about, oh, I'm black, and because I'm black, I got to be this way, and you're white and you're privileged. And that's not God to me. Those are the things like that burns my ears. I don't want to have those conversations. You know what I mean? Because we're so deeper than what we give ourselves credit for. And the powers that be that create the infrastructure that we live in, they thrive off us paying attention to the surface. The surface is color. Mm-hmm. The surface is your community you come from. Yeah. But they don't want you to dig deep. They want you to look at the tree and the branches. But they don't ever want you to look at, they don't want you to see the roots and the soils and the seed and the water. They don't want you, because then you'll break down their infrastructure. Right. So, when I say that, I know a lot of people be like, yo, so you saying you ain't black and you don't know. So I'm not saying that. You can't define me with a color. You define me by my spirit and my actions. That's how you can define me. Don't define me by a complexion or a pigment. Yeah. That's surface. That's not God. To me, that's not God. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, these are the things I kick to the youth, because I hear a lot of kids like they're being programmed to be racist again.
Yo, for real.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying racism ever went anywhere, but it's coming out in a way. Yeah, you know what I mean?
People are definitely more confident with it. I feel like,
but on both sides though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so many young kids in the inner city out here saying white man. I'm like, yo, for real? Mm-hmm. Like y'all supposed to be the avatars. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's like another thing that I like to kick to the youth is editing your wording. Dig deeper, knowing that you're God's children. You're more divine than you're giving yourself credit for. And there's no structure built on this planet that can slow you down or shut you down, but you're allowing it to. You know what I mean? There's no structure on this planet that could stop you.
People really get in their own way a lot of times.
That's the biggest thing. Get out your own way.
Yeah.
For real. The biggest war in life is you versus you. Wow. Period, point blank. There's no World War I. I don't care. Right. You versus you is the biggest war.
Yeah.
Period, point blank. And that's like what I want to kick to the youth as much as I can is, get out your own way, knowing that you're not put on this planet to fail. And don't look at the shell of a person, look at the soul of a person. You know what I mean? And judge a person by their actions, not by their color or their neighborhood or anything like that. Because I have a firm belief that, if you're Israeli and you grew up over here in Israel and you grew up in Africa and you grew over here in the inner city of the United States, it's not to divide us with color or religion. It's to say, okay, God is like, I'm going to put you over here in this part of the continent so you can get that information. I'm going to put you over here. And then when y'all meet, you can share the information and walk away more well-rounded. Yeah. And you go around the world and do that, and then you're fully sharpened. That's the purpose of separation. Not to judge, but to share information. Yeah. No one's kicking that to the youth.
It's very true. Very true. I could see why you and Kanye have such a great relationship, because it sounds like he's saying, a lot of similar things, maybe differently at times, but
we have a lot of the same thought process. Yeah. He's very misunderstood. But, like I tell a lot of people, it's like some people, like to me, certain people out the gate have a gift. Everyone has multiple gifts, right? But out the gate, I think each individual has one that's already sharpened, which catapults you into a lane where then you can get the rest of them out there, but you automatically come out with a gift. And I think, like Pac's gift was, to me, was a speaker more than an MC, more than a rapper. It was the ability to speak and captivate the room or the listener. Yeah. And Kanye is more of an artist in a way where his thing is more of sonic and paint and less of a speaker. So his communication is a little off, but he can get that. But his heart and soul is the same as Pac's to me.
Right. Yeah, the in the right place.
But it's in the right place. It's just, he and I tell him, and he agrees, it's just that needs to be sharpened. But, it's, people like to look at the surface. Right. They like to look at the rant instead of really breaking down what is that brother really saying, though. Right. That's the key. forget the delivery. What is he really saying?
Heart's
though?
in the right place.
Right,
For sure,
exactly,
for
yeah.
sure. What's the one Tupac album that, really, where you started to be like, man, this guy is...
Oh, Me Against the World. That's my favorite
Yeah.
Pac album. I think that's when he was most centered.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
that's when
Did
he
he
was.
just get out of jail right there? He did that in jail.
He did that right as he was going to jail, because
jail,
most of
right.
that was like he was writing about, am I going to be in jail or not?
Right.
So
Amazing project. I love that.
that's my favorite. I think that's when he's the most hit. Most people love the double CD.
Yeah.
Oh, the All Eyes
All
on
Eyes
Me.
on Me.
But that doesn't seem like he was 1 foot further at that point. Like he was in deep at that point with.
Yeah, he was at war with himself.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, he was at war with himself then, and then Machiavelli. You can tell there's a transition. To me, Machiavelli is his Malcolm X going to Mecca. You know what I mean? So Malcolm X went to Mecca and realized that Muslims were all ethnicities, and he came back and changed his narrative, and they killed him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, that was his Malcolm X going to Mecca. Like he was hitting you with jewels, and then like on the realest shit he ever wrote, he didn't speak Biggie's name, but that's the realest shit he ever wrote, because he realized that's not his enemy.
Right.
So I felt like that was but they took him out.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But to me, his center was Me Against the World.
Yeah, an amazing album.
Yeah.
An amazing album. Rewinding real quick, because I just feel like we could probably talk all night, so we'll wrap this up. But when you made the transition from was it Ed Hardy to go work with Kanye?
Mm-hmm.
How did you do that? Being that Ed Hardy was so good to you, like how did you handle yourself? I think that's important for the youth to hear as well, because a lot of people.
What do you mean by how did I handle myself?
I mean, people are just quitting jobs now as soon as something better comes along.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is that a moment you're proud of, or
not only that, but I feel like some people are scared to
take the jump, or that?
Too,
yeah.
I think for me it was a few things. I God rest the dead, because Christian Odaje is my heart, and he passed away not too long ago. But I knew at that point that it was rap for Ed Hardy.
Yeah.
Because everything is certain things. Everything's seasonal. It has expiration date.
Especially when something gets that big.
Yeah, it was that trendy and that popping. Yeah,
Right.
Exactly.
I saw it, and then also I believed in Kanye.
Yeah.
Like wholeheartedly believed in everything he stood for.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've devoured that section of Von Dutch Ed Hardy. That was an 8-year run of.
Yeah.
So I to me, it was nothing else I can milk.
You
out
wanted
of
to
that.
grow more.
I had to.
But what I'm asking is what was your approach? Like you went in there and spoke to him?
I just told Christian, because that was like, he was like a father figure, a big brother. He was like everything, and he wanted the best for me.
Okay.
So it was nothing for me to tell him that, and he
Completely understood.
understood, and
awesome.
he agreed with me. He was like,
He
go.
knew.
He was
He
like,
knew.
go.
Yeah.
You deserve that.
Man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a blessing.
I mean, and that's gotta, make you love the dude even more that he would.
Yes.
Oh, he was the best. Let me tell you something. Christian Odaje, to me, is the greatest spirit I've been blessed to meet in my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Real talk.
You've met a lot of
I met a lot of beautiful spirits.
Right.
He was the best for me.
Yeah.
Because he was the type of person, I've witnessed it many times. He would give anybody a job. Mm-hmm. He would take the shirt off his back for somebody. People would hurt him, and he would still be loving to them. He wanted to help so many people. This dude was so cold. I remember when these kids was coming in the store stealing, and he would say, let them steal. They really love my brand. Wow, let them steal it.
That's crazy.
But to me, that's the mentality, though. It's like he loved people so much. He was like, man, if they want to steal it, not like everybody come and steal.
No,
But
yeah.
he was. But to see kids stealing, that meant so much to him that his brand was worthy to even steal.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when he said that to me, I was like, man, this dude is rare.
Special, man.
It's rare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because most people, it's your pride in it. It's like, how dare you steal from me?
Right.
But it's like, who didn't steal when they was young?
That's real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just little things like that I paid attention to that made me say this. But and I don't want to keep harping on Ye, but he's close set because he has the same type of mentality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He only sees
help first.
Well, he only sees the positive in people,
Man,
and that's
awesome.
rare. Like he never speaks negative of anybody. Real talk.
It's great to hear.
He really doesn't. He
always
wants to see the positive in every person, and
But
that's
I mean, is that almost the flaw? Because I mean, there's a lot of shady motherfuckers.
but think about it. Think about it, brother. That is not the flaw. That's the gift.
Yeah.
Because that's God. Because God doesn't judge you. God allows you to be you. God is not judging. God is God. They say Jesus was crucified next to who? Who was he crucified next to? He was being crucified next to the people that condemned him, that was trying to persecute him. He died for their sins. You feel me? So to me, if you have that mentality, that's the blessing. That's the gift. Because you don't hold nothing in. You know what I mean? You allow people to be them, and then you only see the beauty in them, because we're trained to see the negative in every spirit.
Yeah.
So
maybe that's what it is. You know what I mean? I'm always like, all right, what's wrong with this dude?
let me say this before we get off air. There's a type of teaching that I would love for everybody to embrace, that I was taught young, and that I'm now embracing, is that there's two types of teachers in life. So when you come to class, there's a teacher that automatically gives every student an F, and you have to earn an A in class. And then there's a teacher, when you come in, everyone has an A and you get to maintain that A. So what I'm saying with that is, there's people that meet new individuals and they automatically look at them sideways and put a wall up. So I'll never get to really know you, because I automatically put a wall up against you and looked at you sideways. And then there's other people that instantly
get an A.
greet you.
Give them an A.
They greet you like they've known you, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna open up, and they're gonna get to see the real you right away.
Yeah.
So that to me is like, be a teacher that gives everyone an A out the gate. Now, if you lose that, that's on you. I came to you with open arms. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I want people to be more like that. Embrace every spirit that comes your way, because God put people in your life only for beauty. People talk about God so much and love God. And for me, like I said this in the other interview that I did, that I'm with that. But if you want to praise God, why don't you want to think like God? Why don't you want to embrace people like God?
Lead by example.
Yeah, if that's who you say you love the most, then how is that not the example you want to give? Why am I not God embraces every spirit. You know what I mean? So why would I not want to embrace everybody I come in contact with? Because God would not put that person in my life to hurt me.
Yeah.
That person's going to hurt me because I create that frequency and that energy by putting a wall up, looking at them sideways, which now puts them in a defensive mode. And then, so it's like, we create these things that don't exist. And for me, I'm trying to erase all these things that create walls and mazes in my life. I just want to see beauty. I grew up with pain. I've seen pain most of my life. So now I want to create a world, because I'm in control of me. I'm in control of my world. I want to create only beauty. And I'm in control of that. No matter what you say to me, I can take it as a positive or a negative, but that's my choice.
Yeah.
I'm in control of me. So from this point on in my life, I choose to be happy. You know what I mean? And no matter what frequency you throw to me, I'm knocking that down and I'm praying for you, because I want to walk away happy. I don't want to walk away and embrace that negative energy and take that and carry it and walk over here somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm in control of that. I can pick that luggage up, or I can leave it there. And that's something that, if anybody is listening to this at some point in life, please get out your own way, create your own happiness. Heaven is in the mind, hell is in the mind. Then you have the choice to create that in your life from this moment on. Like, you're in control of all of that. And God's plan for every spirit is to be happy, being you. There is no blueprint to happiness other than be you. You know what I mean? Meaning, like, there's no structure. Like, you got to walk this way, you got to dress this way, you got to have this amount of money. None of that. Because look at people at huts in Brazil or in South Africa or wherever they are on the planet that is third world country living. They're living in huts with no shoes, but they're smiling. They're running around happy.
Right.
But then there's people in Beverly Hills with millions and billions and they're miserable. So there's no blueprint to it. You understand?
100%.
Yeah.
Bars. Tracy, great having you on the show, man.
Thank you for having me, brother. For real, it means a lot, brother.
Really
thank
a lot
you so
to
much,
us.
family. Yeah,
And
for real, brother.
down the road, man, I know this is first of many sit downs, but Visitor on Earth right now, you could get it website, or what's the best way to
Visitor on
keep
Earth,
up?
Barney's,
Congrats
Barney's.
on that.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, That's a
real
blessing.
quick, before you get out of here, how crazy is that, man? To go from a kid not only that, a black kid growing up in the inner city to being in Barney's.
Never thought of it. It never registered. And you know, it's funny. Like my business partner, shout out to Lavetta Willis, my business partner. She always says, like, "Are you excited?" Like when every time I close a deal or do like when I did the Russell Athletic deal, she's like, "Are you excited?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "Well, we're in Barney's now. Are you excited?" I'm like, "No," because it's a blessing, and I never would have thought, but that's not the purpose.
Right.
I told her today when I'm gonna be happy is when I can have a line outside of something like Supreme and I get to talk to the kids. And I see a line of kids that believe in what I'm doing, and each one of them I get to touch. That's when I get excited. Other than that, yes, I'm grateful,
of course,
and I appreciate it, but it doesn't. I'm not happy,
Right.
with that. I need more.
Doesn't fully
I need the
fulfill.
youth. I need to listen. I need the kid. I need to talk to the kids, man.
We're gonna get
dope,
to him.
man.
Yeah.
We're gonna get
That's
to
dope.
him.
That's dope. So so not to cut you off.
No,
but
you're good, brother.
You can get that in Barney's.
You can get it in Barney's.
The website.
Yeah, and then it's multiples. I don't know all the store, but I'm in. I'm all over the
That's right.
country. I'm all over Japan. I'm in Europe. I'm in a lot of places. And
Dope,
it's a blessing.
man.
Yeah.
And you're just getting warmed up too.
Yeah. Thank God. Yeah. I'm just laying foundations.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming
brother.
through.
Yeah, it means
Yeah.
a lot.
Word up.
Power 106,
Yeah.
LA Leakers Liftoff
Uh-huh.
Show. Yeah.